Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to our show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
We're back! Yeah, let us in and we'll be nice.
Yes.
Or don't let us in and we'll have to come back. Not once, not twice, but as many times as we want.
Welcome to season 9 of Run for Your Lives.
Yes. This episode, kicking off this new season, is the crime horror film Longlegs, written and directed by Oz Perkins, released July 12th, 2024. That's right, we have a last year movie now. Who knows how long it will take before we get our first 2025 release of the year in this season. I'm sure we will at some point.
There are already some movies that are coming out in the next couple of months that definitely fit within the Run for Your Lives universe. So I don't think it's going to take that long. Yeah. There's something I learned when I did my rewatch and then did some research after. I didn't know that Oz Perkins is the son of Anthony Perkins.
Oh, interesting.
Mr. Psycho himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's cool. Fun trivia.
It's really fun. I thought it was super cool. He's got a unique point of view in his movie making, and he has a movie coming out in February called The Monkey, and it definitely fits within our genre.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out in like a week from when people are hearing this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for that one for sure. I don't know a whole lot about Oz Perkins. Really, all I know about him was like up to this point being like, well, he's the guy that did Longlegs, and then up till now I was being, well, I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard mixed things, so we'll see. So, do I feel more or less excited about it after seeing this movie? I don't know. We'll talk about that. But yeah, no, I mean, really was excited about that because it's Stephen King, and the cast list on that movie on The Monkey,
it's amazing.
Makes me excited. I mean, Elijah Wood, Sarah Levy, Tatiana Maslany, Christian Convery, like, yeah.
That's all it takes,
Some
right?
people I like a lot, so it'll be fun.
Gus. It's Gus. In a non-Gus role. Yeah. Well, we're going to kick this off the way we always do, with some production notes. It was filmed in Vancouver and Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada. It was the highest-grossing R-rated horror film of 2024, and it was also the highest-grossing independent film of 2024. Was nominated for 5 Saturn Awards, including horror film, supporting actor, screenwriting, makeup, and production design. The budget was under $10 million, and it grossed $127 million. 101 minutes long. Pake, it's been a while, but bring us that synopsis.
All right. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree.
Yes. Agreed.
To Zodiac. Got it. Now,
well, you know, he was inspired by the Zodiac, as well as Silence of the Lambs and Seven. But to me, it also had a weird, retro, unsettling feeling that I got from It Follows. Like that, there's just this thing about it that reminded me also of that. And Micah Monroe, who plays Lee Harker, was also in It Follows. So, the music...
When it wasn't T-Rex.
was just like one big anxiety-inducing experience.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of T-Rex.
A lot of T-Rex there.
Yeah.
Big T-Rex fans here with this. especially like right off the, I mean, there's definitely just like, you know, in the car, and then like there's references to other music and stuff of like that era. But I mean, the movie opens with T-Rex lyrics from Get It On are the lyrics there. And then you have like the little opening scene with what we later learn is the younger Lee Harker. And then that like flash from there goes into like the opening credits with the actors' names and things. And then it's Jewel playing over that. So it's like...
Yep, T-Rex. Not the dinosaur, the band.
I'm glad you cleared that up. People probably would have been very lost.
Rexy doesn't have time to be making movies like this. In 1992, she wasn't even a thing yet. And 1992 is when this was set. And the first time I watched it, which was a couple months ago, I knew it wasn't like a current movie. I knew that it was likely, you know, 90s, 80s era. And then I did some research getting ready for this podcast. And
yeah, I didn't have to really do much research. I think the movie has a very specific way of telling exactly what year or time period they're in. And it's just a very simple visual cue, which is a picture of a president on a wall.
yes. And I can tell you that he adjusted the year he had planned because he wanted the president on the wall to be Bill Clinton and not George Bush. So this movie was interesting because it broke things into 3 parts. The first part was his letters, second part, all of your things, and third part, birthday girls. I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure it was necessary, but maybe you disagree. I don't know.
I mean, I have those down just in my notes, just like as soon as I saw part 1, I was like, well, I'm going to write down whatever the parts and titles are in case they're important. They weren't, really, but yeah, I mean, it's just a storytelling, you know, way of doing things sometimes, which is fine. I liked the way that Dr. Sleep did them, which is, go back, because we covered Dr. Sleep here on this podcast, and because our style is different, they didn't really come into play. But I had a lot of fun back when me and Rima covered Dr. Sleep on Strange Indeed several years ago. The way that I actually broke down, because we did more of a points-based kind of conversation, and I broke those down by the chapters. And that was really fun to do.
Yeah. We do things in a unique way on Run for Your Lives. We're very character-driven when we talk about movies, and it's kind of our thing. Most podcasts that I've listened to don't do it this way, but I think what we do is cool.
So yeah, we could get into this movie with that system. Of course, this movie's not maybe the best for that system a little bit, but as we go character by character, really, it's going to be like 90% Lee Harker, and then just kind of tack on a little bit of other stuff at the end. But that's okay.
Yeah, I have notes on Longlegs himself, Nicolas Cage. There are just things. We covered Renfield not that long ago, and this character to me was over the top in a different way, and so I have I have some things to say about him.
Just the Cage rage. He's always peak Cage in a vastly different way than the last time, but also similar, but also different. There is none other like Nicolas Cage, and it's like, love him or hate him, you're gonna do both at the same time in some way. Like, it's just there's no way to box in and explain and break down what Nicolas Cage is. He's an enigma. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, he had some pretty fierce makeup. The prosthetics that they used, I mean, basically all over his face.
Yeah. And
I was looking into it, and it took like 2.5 hours every day to put that on him.
Honestly, that's not bad. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, that's not what we're used to. I mean, I've heard 5-6 hours before for some.
Yeah.
Like, as kind of the median time frame, so it's not too bad. Okay, so let's start. Lee Harker.
Yeah, which, well, I'll start at the very beginning since we know that is her as a kid. Just, you get that little tease, which really you think it's more about like, oh, Longlegs, but then it is a foreshadowing and kind of kicking off her story as well. Not knowing that her mom was there, because you see it later, her mom coming out and talking to Longlegs a little bit. But even then I was like, okay, look, I don't ever want to victim blame, because I figure like when I'm first watching this, I'm like, well, obviously this is going to be like the first victim, some little girl that he takes or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to victim blame, especially a child. I was like, but like, I don't know. If a strange car pulls up outside and you seem to be all alone, like, maybe don't go outside and check it out, kids. I don't know.
I know. She was inside her house. Like, why did you feel the need to do that?
Just maybe don't do that. And I think you might fare off okay.
This is something that she does, though, because she looked out her window later on when she was at her house and saw something out there and went right outside again.
Yep.
But I think we kind of get to figure out why she's the way she is. Because of the dolls, but that we'll get to.
Yeah, she just kind of guns off, as a kid, and then as you said, as an adult. But even like with that scene where I was like, her house has a really cool vibe. I like this kind of like log cabin-esque. I was like, I could live there. I like that. And then like when she goes outside, or even when she's like checking around, I was like, although maybe invest in some blinds, lady. I don't. These just huge open windows, not as great.
Yeah, not a fan of that. I think you have to have blinds or big curtains that you can close, because I would feel way too like exposed.
Yeah, like there's a house kind of nearby where I work that I think is one of the coolest looking houses. It's just like a really cool, modern design, which got like really cool, like the living room up on top floor with like these kind of cool angles and stairs. But I basically can see the entire indoor layout of the house, because they just have these huge windows for like walls basically in certain places, and it's just like no coverage. And it's like, I drive by there at night and it's like, I can just look into your home. Why are you? Yeah. That I don't get. Why do people do that? It's like, it's a cool house, but I don't know if I'd want to live there, because there's like no privacy to anybody driving by. I don't.
I have a couple of windows. My curtains are closed. Honestly, they're closed a lot of the time, because it's just easier that way. I don't need people looking in my windows. Like, it's just not something I need. I do like the sunlight, and I will let it into my house, but yeah, you need to be able to close yourself off, not be so out there for people to see everything you're up to.
Yeah. I guess she lives like more out in the, foresty countryside area with not a lot of neighbors or stuff, but still. Then you have serial killer-y things like this, and then you don't want this window people to be able to see where you're at in the house.
I still think if she had remembered from her childhood the trauma, basically, what she's witnessed as a kid, if she knew that maybe she wouldn't have been so secluded. Like, she might have wanted to be more in where other people were. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey to go on with this movie. It's going to be interesting to talk about it, because I don't want to just break down and here's what happened. And what happened next. We don't want recaps. But yeah, it was an interesting unfolding of mysteries and truth. A very cool mystery movie in that way. Yeah, because we first meet her. Immediately, she's this FBI agent that seems to have a very special knack in hunting down killers. She goes out with Agent Fisk and finds, immediately gets a vibe and knows where the guy they're looking for is. Of course, Agent Fisk gets killed by the suspect, immediately. But even then, the Bureau sees something special with her and put her, there's even psychic ability almost. They see she has this special...
It's like clairvoyance.
Psychic ability, or at least very strong intuition, whatever it is, but they can use it. And they put her on this case of Longlegs, this serial killer who, at least at first, it seems like he's setting up family murders to look like murder-suicides that are enacted by the father, but they're trying to figure out, how does he do that? It's because it is murders, because there's a string of them, and they all have these... ciphers with messages included in them. And so we know it's not just a freak, murder-suicide thing, because it is a serial killer situation. So there's something happening, and we're trying to figure out how he's doing it. And I was wondering, like, immediately, when Carter's drunk but takes Lee back to his house and we meet his wife and daughter, as much as like that awkward but still winds up being a kind of sweet interaction between Lee and Ruby, Agent Carter's daughter.
I liked that.
But like the second they walked in there, before she even said anything about, oh, can I invite her to my birthday or whatever, the second I saw this like little girl walk on screen, because I think he was like, meet my wife and kid, and then the second I saw he had a daughter, I was like, her birthday's going to be the 14th, isn't it?
Yep.
Like, I was like, yeah, I can see where this is going. Which makes sense. Is like, that's probably why Carter has such a huge interest in this case and really needs Lee on it, is he's worried about what could be coming.
And he had good
Puts
reason.
him in the bubble of, like,
potential victims.
Possibility, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think of it that way, that he was trying to do it because he was concerned because Ruby fit within that possibility, but you're right. Because he was pretty on her about this case, like, wanted her to solve it.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly why. As soon as they found out the pattern of the birthdays, he was like, oh, shit. Well, we got to figure this out now.
Yep.
Also, I just realized this episode is set to release on February 14th, so that's kind of spooky. That's kind of cool.
I like that, though. I think that's great. It fits within the pattern.
Yeah. And then we didn't even plan it that way, but as I was taking notes watching this movie, I was like, the 14th of every month. I was like, wait, this episode's dropping on a 14th.
Yep.
How serendipitous
it's amazing.
Is.
Yeah, I think she was a bit awkward. Like, and knowing what we know at the end about how things were really suppressed for her, it explained a lot about why she was the way that she was.
Oh, yeah.
Because she just seemed like almost like she wasn't, part of her just wasn't there. And she was very awkward in some of the interactions that she had. And even Browning, who worked with her, just kept asking Carter, are you sure she's ready for this? Are you sure she's ready for this? Like, multiple times. Because I think she thought she was in over her head. Because she does seem a bit eccentric, maybe. I don't know. Just, she's very, I mean, even in her communications with her mother, it just doesn't seem warm. She seems disconnected or distanced from everyone. Really, there's no one in her life we met no one other than her mother. So I don't know that she has like a lot of, support in her life or friends to hang out and do things with. I feel like she must spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah, pretty much always. Which
yeah.
Makes sense then, like, even though we learned that her mom is just a villain and a terrible person in her own right. But those early conversations where it is just like, she's worried kind of about, working too hard, getting too buried in what she's doing. And, and I feel like that's probably been Lee's, like, MO her whole life, is because that awkwardness and the things that are suppressed, all these memories gone, is like just human interaction is weird to her. She probably didn't have a lot of friends, so she probably always was constantly buried in school and in academy or, college or, work or whatever, to where she just always was like that. And it probably, her mother could see her just socially and everything else just like kind of not growing the way that she should in some of those ways, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to grow when a PC is missing, when something's suppressed, so her mom's kind of at fault. Oh, yeah. For that.
For sure. I mean, even though, like, the whole reason she's doing what she's doing is so she can live, but it's not really living, like you said, because she's so just, like, shut down and shut off because a piece of her is not there.
Yeah. Her mom's always concerned that they're working her too hard, but then there's a point where she says something to her about...
So she was allowed to grow up.
She was allowed to grow up. And that struck me as I'm kind of putting the pieces of everything together. It pushed me in a direction of, okay, the mother, there's something there. The mother's involved in this, whatever it is. Because it seems like some bargain may have been made.
Yeah, it's the wording. There's a lot of things when she's talking to Cobble, Longlegs, when she's talking to Carrie Ann, when she's talking to her mother. There's like specific things that are said that mean something that don't sound like they do, but like once you know, and it's... Yeah, I mean, when Lee goes home is asking about her 9th birthday, and I was like, I don't remember anything about it. But then immediately follows it up with those disturbing things. Yeah, you were allowed to grow up, and not all the little things are, not all the little things get to. And it's like, okay, this is creepy and I don't like it. Something is off, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of cryptic. And she's also saying things like, when she responds to Lee's like being busy at work and being happy and focused and it's good, her mom's like, you're working on not nice things. Mm-hmm. Referring to the subject matter of the cases that she's working on. And I like that Lee kind of gave it back to her at one point.
Yeah, the Bureau doesn't have a department for nice things. Yeah.
And I liked that because I thought she was pushing back. And you do have to wonder, I mean, what their relationship would or could have been like had this thing not happened to her.
Yeah, like immediately the first time you hear her mom's like just voice over the phone when they're talking, and it's like, yeah, their relationship is strange. It's strained or awkward. Like there's something, there's a disconnect, there's a block there, and you figure that out what that is by the end.
Yeah,
that you pick up on it immediately that something is not right.
Yeah, and those interactions that she does have, like by phone, you first get the phone calls, and then when she sees her in person, it just stands out to me, just their physical acting in those scenes, that here's mother and daughter, but they don't look connected the way that you would expect. Mm-hmm. And we learn later on exactly why, like what's going on. I mean, Lee saw a lot that was basically suppressed in her memories. And she started to remember some things as time went on, as she got really integrated into this case. Mm-hmm.
Which, I guess it's a good thing she digs in so deep to work, because she figured out a lot of stuff very quickly. They didn't take too much time to drag out, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, she let me figure this out. And then, like, it seems like within a couple hours, she'd be like, got it. Okay, moving on. Next thing. Where, she gets a little visit from somebody who's way worse than Santa Claus. That leaves a little gift for her, but do not open until January 14th. Which then I was like, well, she didn't wait to open it. Which, of course, why would she? Unless that was the date, because it wasn't really clear then. I was like, but then later it's like, oh, almost birthday. So, like,
right.
She opened it early. No, I'm just kidding. But she immediately gets to work on the cipher and finds some real creepy, disturbing stuff. But there's like the whole revelation thing and going back and then cross-referencing all the other notes. And it doesn't take her long to where she's just like, whole cipher. She meets back up with Carter like the next day and like, oh, here's the cipher at this this victim's house. And she's like, yep, that's what that means. I figured it all out. Which I thought was weird, that is she not going to tell him about her little uninvited house guest the night before? Like, I guess not.
Well, he did say not to tell anyone about it, about how she got or knew or figured out the cipher, because Longlegs left her a card, basically. Yeah. That helped her decipher the coding. And part of it was him saying on this card, in a coded message, that she can't tell anyone or he'll kill her mother. Yeah. And it actually goes beyond kill. Like, it's a little more detailed than that. Yeah. But we'll leave it at killed. At kills. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like he's leading her into solving. It's all part of his plan, is being caught by her to lead to kind of the ending, which we'll get to. We'll talk about this kind of open-ended what happens and thoughts. But yeah, I think it's all just orchestrated that way. He kind of got what he wanted by being caught by her, by allowing her to, knowing what she's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would. Random note, I was like, when they at the house with the other victims, that they only find really, or at least, I don't know, because it seems like they were found without her, but then she has like the 9th birthday thing and all of that, but you know, the family that had been there for like a month.
Yeah, it'd been a month.
But then I was like, well, that cat has not been in that like carrying kennel for a month.
I don't think so. No, it wouldn't be alive.
So I was like, maybe the FBI found him in the house and put him in there just to kind of get him out of the way. I was like, it was kind of a strange little, like, that's probably what happened, because I was like, I don't think he's been sitting in there for a month.
No, no, definitely not. No. The carrier would not look like that if he had been. He would have torn out of it, probably, because it looked like it was made of plastic, and cats need to eat and drink and poop. Mm-hmm. So, not going to happen.
Yeah, but Leo does put the work in a lot with connections. Quickly puts those together that, like, the murder at the farm that all these ciphered letters are pointing to, where X's mark the spot, leads them to find the doll of Carrie Ann Camera. And just, I like how things, like, I love a good mystery thriller. It's like a slow burn movie that doesn't take 3 hours to burn.
Exactly.
Like, it's still, the fact that it was still an hour and 40 minutes, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe it's just, especially when we're podcasting on stuff, because prep takes 2.5 times as long on something a lot of times.
Yes.
To where I'm like, I really love a good succinct under 2 hour movie. I really do.
It does make it easier. Yeah. You know, podcasting is so much more than just, Peg, watch a movie. I'll watch the movie and let's get on here and talk about it. You have to actually dig in and pay attention to subtle details in the movie to have interesting points and things to talk about. Yeah. And so the prep work that goes into the podcast is even longer than recording the podcast itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially the way I take notes. Like, a 2.5 hour movie takes me like 6 hours to actually get through and prep for and take everything. It's my whole day. And I still have been doing it for years because I enjoy it. Right. But yeah, on a movie podcasting day, this is what I do for the day.
Yep.
Anyway, where was I at? So the doll that we kind of see that, Longlegs made, and it's like, it's making me quite uncomfortable. I don't like that.
Definitely. It was unsettling. And going to the doll autopsy place.
Yeah.
Where he takes the brain, is what he's calling this metal ball that was inside her head. That's when things start to really move forward once they get to the doll. Because it belonged to the one person that has survived. Mm-hmm. Because she happened to be at school that day. And she wasn't home when the murder took place. And so they decide they need to go and see her. And that was a trip.
Yeah. Left to maybe... I mean, this was not a funny movie in any way. Not a comedy in any way. Except for the one thing that I actually chuckled at, that I was kind of a comedy moment, is when they, she had a visitor and like just came back alive, and it's like, we'll check the log and see who visit, and he wrote down Lee Harker. It's all a game. But then the way that she goes, do your guards check IDs? And he goes, oh, that would be a really good idea. No, they don't. Like, it's like, you did. I did laugh at that.
Yeah.
Just his response of like, we never thought of that.
His way of explaining things like, I've been here for 8 years and I've never seen it. And then, oh my goodness, she came back, out of her catatonic state. And it wasn't Lee that was there. It was Longlegs that was there. Mm-hmm. How he got himself to look like a woman, I don't know, but...
I don't think he did. I think he just put down that name. He just came in as himself.
Probably. And the character of Carrie Ann was bizarre. Just, Kiernan Shipka did a great job with it, but the things that she was saying, like, just as happy as peaches to watch your heart go pop, pop. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to do whatever he tells me to do. And all the time, Lee's just trying to get answers like, where have you been? What is going on? And all she can talk about is that she was in a dark place like a dream.
Yeah, very much like Longlegs, where just everything he says is very cryptic.
Mm-hmm.
And it means something, but you don't know what until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that Carrie Ann was the same way. It's like, yeah, the whole conversation with her didn't really give Lee much in answers. More questions and concerns, but not really any answers.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, where there was that, the kind of the stinger on the end of that being like, do you remember the doll? And nope. But then, and neither do you. It's like,
oh, what? What is that about?
You know, and Carrie Ann telling Lee that she doesn't remember. And then following that up with then Lee going to Carter and he's like looking through her file and being like, yeah, apparently like your mother called in a police report the day before your 9th birthday, which is on a 14th, and is like, why don't we, talk about your connection to all of this? You're more connected to this case than we thought. And there's some kind of call about a tall, pale stranger fitting the, description of our killer we're looking for, approaching your house. Like, why didn't you say anything about any of this? And she's like, I have no recollection or memory of any of that.
He sends her right back to talk to her mother about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which, again, there's all like the weird conversations and weird things. But again, moving plot forward very fast, which I love, is because kind of the end of that is her finding those Polaroids and going, oh, like, cool, I have a picture of him right here. Done. Which, it's great.
But again, that was moved forward by her mother saying things, I never threw any of your stuff out. It's all in your room.
Yeah, again, which leads to this idea that him being caught and all of it, it's all part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, because they catch him really quick. And he was waiting for them to come and get him with literal suitcases full of evidence, tying him to the gate. Like, he's just like, yep, everything's going according to plan.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And then all the flashbacks with what like really happened between them and her as a kid and all that. And it's just
cheese and crackers.
So creepy, all of it. But yeah, Dale, Cobble, Longlegs in custody. But Lee is still like fully believing it's not over. Like another family is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
She's surmising like he has to have an accomplice, someone that families are willingly letting into their homes. That's the only way any of this makes sense. Goes to Longlegs himself to get like those answers, and instead, again, just more cryptic, creepy statements. But then again, leading that next little thing, just giving her enough confusing stuff to then fit one important detail in that is going to lead her to the next step that they want her to take. Which is, well, who is the man downstairs? It's like, well, ask your mother. And then smashes his face and skull into the table repeatedly, and that's it.
Oh, man.
He's like, and my job's done. Wham. And
he also is rambling about a woman with a Bible, and you've been selected. Like, he's rambling about, White Houses and women with the Bible, and you've been selected, and he's giving her information.
Yeah, it's all, like, word for word kind of her script when she goes delivers the dolls into the homes of the victims.
Yes. And then we say bye-bye to Longlegs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then during that interrogation that led to Longlegs' death, we learn, Carrie Ann leapt off her building to her death, as she had alluded to doing if she needed to when Lee was talking to her. It's all like she was like the final piece in that puzzle.
Yeah, and she fulfilled what she needed to do, so that was it.
Yep, needed her to be enticing enough to bring Lee in there to give her just enough information to lead to the next piece. Well, your job's done. Bye-bye.
It's like a scavenger hunt, really.
Yeah.
From one thing to the next.
And I like the silhouette of, like, Baphomet, Satan, whatever, the goat horn figure that just kind of pops up quickly and goes away. Very, like, haunting, like Flanagan haunting style of like hidden ghosts. Like it was just like, and there it is, and now it's gone, and here it is, and now it's gone.
You'll miss it if you
great
blink.
detail. Yeah,
like you have to really be paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And this all goes back to her mom, and she's got to go and bring her in. Like she has to go and do it.
Yeah, We learn the lesson that any other FBI agent should probably never, ever go anywhere with Lee ever, or else they will get shot.
In the head, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. Not a good idea.
Any FBI agent that was alone with Lee in this movie died by gunshot in this movie.
Yes. They did.
Even Agent Carter by the end.
Yep, absolutely. She is not good luck.
No.
At all.
She was a child born into the service of Satan in a way. You almost would say she's a bad omen?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if she's quite as bad as Damien. Damien was pretty bad. And we haven't covered those movies, and we can.
We have not. We
should. All she did was go in to get her mother. Like, she went in by herself to kind of, just get her to come. Like, was going to talk to her about identifying an accomplice. And then it's over for Browning. As soon as she goes in the house, her mother is there with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm. Homeowner with a shotgun?
Yes. We start to put the pieces together and you really get to see the situation, which is her mother has been in league with Longlegs because of a pact that was made to spare Lee's life when she was a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Because Longlegs was going to kill her. And her mother made a deal that she would work with Longlegs just so her daughter could survive. And that has included going to all of these homes as part of this murder plan that he has.
Yeah.
So she's literally in league with the devil.
Yeah.
To cause the destruction of all these families.
And then the phone call, again, it's part of the plan, leading her to where she needs to be, is it's almost like Satan himself, because it's like, Longlegs is dead, but it's still like a phone call from him, the voice, it's a way. But yeah, she's like, immediately puts that to like, something like, mentions Ruby's birthday, and it's like, oh, well, shit. Flies over there, and then immediately, the door opens, and I'm like, well, Agent Carter and his wife are way too pleasant. Fuck. It's too late. I mean, the car, we saw when she pulls up, her mom's car is there, that Beetle. It's like, yeah, that's good. And then, of course, when the door closes behind Lee, oh, well, there's Satan. Terrible party guest to have today. I don't know why they invited him. Well, you shouldn't do that. And then, just immediately knows what's going on, sees the way that Carter is acting and his wife, Anna, and Ruby sitting there just infatuated with the doll. The connection with the brain has already happened. And I did wonder, though, it's like, it's like, well, we're going to go cut the cake. We're going to go. And it's like, we'll be back. No, I'll be back. You'll still be in the kitchen. I was like, Lee, what are you doing just standing there, letting it all play out? Like, save them. Shoot your mom. Shoot Carter if you have to. Save Ruby. I was like, why are you waiting for things to happen? And I was like, well, you're a little late because you just let Anna die. You hear her die in the other room. Then she takes out Carter and her mother, but like, I don't know. Why are you waiting till it's a little too late for some things? But yeah. And then we get the open ending, which we're left to wonder what happens. We're left with that on purpose. There's kind of these different ways it could go. Does she shoot the doll, breaking the connection between the doll and Ruby with the brain? Does she shoot herself, trying to end the cycle? Does she kill Ruby and continue the cycle? None of the above. We don't know.
We don't know. We know what happened when her mom shot her doll in the head. Like, all the memories came back. Like, there was nothing that was suppressed.
Yeah.
I like to hope that she reloaded her gun and shot the doll in the head to end the cycle, but I don't know that it would have ended the cycle.
Yeah, and we don't know on purpose. So it's one of those. Some people get very frustrated with the non-endings of movies. Sometimes they're like, "It's up for you to decide." I think it can be fun. I don't mind it so much, but I know some people really hate it.
Yeah.
Just tell me how a story ends. I get it. Yeah, so something about the credits going top to bottom was just off-putting. I don't know why. It's a little thing. Like, I'm sure there's other movies that do it. But, like, just, like, after that, we were left and it's like, what happens? And then the credits start scrolling from the top of the screen. And I'm like, just throw on one other thing that's uncomfortable. Whatever.
It was a lot, though, that was.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, it's just not right.
I know. It makes you feel, like, icky. Like, ugh. It gives you the willies when you're watching it because you're just thinking, oh my God.
Now, speaking of credits, you ready for a crazy mystery that I spent minutes on Reddit for? No. But some online investigators on Reddit may have found some answers for, or not. Who knows? Anyway, in the credits, when they start rolling, we get to the cast. The actress, Ryla McIntosh, is credited as adult Ruby. We never see Ruby as an adult in the movie.
Adult Ruby?
Yeah. That's not a thing that happened. And so, like, I was like, wait a minute. So immediately I'm like going to Reddit and stuff and like, okay, movie people on Reddit, like, I'm like, we're going to find out what people have said. And it's, all I could find is like, there's like a whole thread about it, but it was like, maybe it was a deleted scene. It got cut and then she's still credited. Like, maybe there's they filmed something of her, jumping forward and what happens. And they ended up deciding to cut that and leave it open-ended. But then other people were kind of speculating maybe it hints at a sequel. It's like, wouldn't put it past Osgood Perkins. They already secretly filmed a sequel and didn't say anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
That deals with adult Ruby and maybe her daughter in the future or something. And so as I'm scrolling through this kind of thread, I'm going to point out, some Redditors pointed out some things I thought were cool. So the first one, in an interview with Variety, Osgood Perkins stated, "The story of Lee Harker ends with the ending of this movie."
Okay.
Which means if there is something else in the future, it will likely, I'm assuming, will then likely focus on the story of Ruby. And then somebody else pointed out something that's interesting on IMDb. And if you go to Osgood Perkins' page and then go to like upcoming productions or whatever, upcoming projects, it's not in there. You have to actually, I don't know how they found it. Maybe it was at some point, but I had to go in and type in the name of the movie, and then it's in post-production, directed by Osgood Perkins. There is a movie in post-production listed under the name Keeper by Osgood Perkins directing, and the synopsis for that one on IMDb is, during an anniversary getaway at a remote cabin, a wife is left alone after her husband departs, only to confront a sinister presence that exposes the cabin's chilling past. That's all that's on it, and so people are like, it could be completely unrelated, but it also sounds like it could be a continuation of this story in some way. Of course, then I think since then some cast has been added. Only 3 cast members. Nothing with Ryla McIntosh, who was cast as the adult Ruby in this movie. So I don't know. But yeah, the only people announced as cast right now are Tatiana Maslany, Rossif Sutherland, and Logan Pierce.
Huh. Well.
And so it's like, could be completely unrelated, could just be a different movie, a horror movie that he does, but it's intriguing enough for like people to be on like, it has to mean something. We're all, after watching this movie and the way that there's all this cryptic, weird stuff, of course, me and so many other people on Reddit are going to pick up on the fact that they credited something that didn't happen. Now we have to go down a rabbit hole and figure out what the hell that means.
Of course. How many directors do you think do that just so that they know that they are going to own people? Like, oh yeah, we're going to put this in here, and you know why? Because they're going to be those fans that can't help themselves. Yeah,
and I'm one of those. Who was like, of course the movie ended, and you found a way with just a few words in the credits to completely mindfuck me again. Thanks, Oz.
You just, honestly, you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. You really don't.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway.
Anyway, it is open-ended. I have other notes about other characters. I have a couple of things, but not a lot.
Yeah, I don't have much. I say really the only other character besides just some Longlegs stuff is Ruth, and it's really stuff we've talked about. Is you mentioned like her shooting the doll and freeing Lee, where it's like the confirmation of like, yeah, there's definite supernatural connection between the girls and the quote unquote brains that are in the dolls of them. And it's just straight up the devil. That's what we're doing. And then learning, that she's the accomplice the whole time in exchange for the life of her daughter. And then just like this kind of like little underlying thing. It was like the whole time that they spent looking for this guy, he was in Lee's mom's basement the whole time.
And she doesn't know it because it's been suppressed in her brain. Like, she doesn't know that that's where he's been until he's not there anymore.
Yep.
Because it's been suppressed. She sees a cockroach coming out from under a door to the basement, but she doesn't go down there digging.
Mm-hmm.
I did think that seeing the deal and the situation made me understand why her mom was as strange as she was. I thought that a piece was missing from Lee, but I also thought her mother was just incredibly odd as well, in her own way. And Alicia Witt, who played Ruth, looks very different without red hair.
Yeah.
Did not recognize her at first. I'm like, oh, well, very different. But yeah, I think that's all I have. I have a bunch of things about Longlegs and Nicolas Cage and...
Yeah, I've got a few things with him. I said, his process or whatever. Just very particular. When we're learning things like through Carter and stuff early on, it's like, well, all the families that are murdered have a daughter whose birthday is on a 14th of any month, but that day. And then them just trying to break things down. It's like, well, there's no sign of him ever actually entering the homes. And they're like, is he psychically causing whatever's happening? And then we get that 911 call that Lee's listening to, where it seems like the father is somehow convinced that his daughter or family is something else. It's like, that's not my daughter. And then, which is a hint to then like the dolls are what's causing things. Because we see Carrie Ann's mom like stabbing the doll, like as where it's, when we learn through like the brains, and it's like whatever that is, we don't get an explanation of it, and that's fine. I don't think we need to, but it is somehow like Longlegs imbuing these metal balls with the actual essence of the devil and putting them in, and then sending them into the home, and then letting them possess and manipulate and cause mayhem and do whatever they do while they're sitting there.
Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. It's the dolls. It's crazy, but it's the dolls that are doing it. And he doesn't even have to go in the house. He doesn't set foot in there. It's Ruth goes and takes the dolls. And we get that montage of her, like, covered in blood, or, like, aftermath of things where she's throwing up and she's just traumatized from doing this stuff, but she just keeps doing it anyway. I don't know if it was, well, for the rest of your life you need to do this, or we'll kill her. I mean, we don't really know the full extent of it.
Yeah. Other than, like, the thing that she says of, like, if all three of them don't die, if we don't do this, it's like, then we're gonna burn and twist and burn and twist.
I know. It's just... burn and twist and burn and twist and... so creepy.
All the very... the 666 in the cipher and the symbolism where she learns it's like the inverted triangle to, like, get the patterns and all the satanic occult things, which again, it's interesting because I'm like watching this, where it's like it's fictional. It's like a supernatural fictional thing where like the version of the devil in this movie is like a whole different thing, because I know real Satanists in my life. It's like that's not what any of this is at all. Like, but for like a fictional movie based on, it's like it's a fun subject that like definitely is creepy to people. That is something you can play with and toy with. Yeah, because this interpretation is definitely more horrifying. Yeah. For people. I mean, really. For them to see it. It's going to freak them out a lot more. Yeah. So if you do it like realistically with what actual satanic people like Satanists are, it's like then you just get a movie of a bunch of pleasant people being nice and doing cool things.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not what you think.
But okay.
It was kind of cool because Micah Monroe didn't actually see Nicolas Cage in his full makeup until they filmed the scenes, so her reactions are like genuine because she hadn't really seen him. And Perkins gave Cage the option to riff on the dialogue, make any changes he wanted to do, not say, what he had written. But Nicolas Cage was like, nope, I'm going to do it the way that you have it written. This is how it's going to be.
That's funny. I was almost going to go the opposite direction. I was like, yeah, because you don't have a choice, because he's just going to Cage all over the place.
No.
But no.
Perkins also described Longlegs as a cross between a birthday clown and a rock and roll singer.
Just trying to channel some Meatloaf. I don't know.
He was, oh my god. The singing and the randomness of what he was saying half the time was just ridiculous.
Mommy! Daddy!
Oh, man. Yeah, he kind of said it's like a remix of Pennywise and Judas Priest. I was like, oh, okay.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just full Cage. He's gotta be in anything he does. And it's like, we have like the mini mart or the hardware store, and it's like, yeah, I'd be very uncomfortable if I was that teenage girl in that store. Hell, I'd be uncomfortable with him as myself. Just the cuckoo. What day is your birthday, little angel? Nope.
Dad! That creepy guy's here again. Run. Run fast. Just Longlegs' introduction when he's meeting with the young Lee. It's like, it seems I wore my long legs today. And I'm just like, what does that even mean? And then just seeing him for the first time in the movie, when you see his face, you don't believe it because it's so bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that like a saying? Because, I mean, I understood what he meant by that is like he's a lot taller than she is, so he needs to bring himself down to like face level to really have a conversation. But I've never heard it put that way. Is that a thing people say?
No, not that I know of. Definitely not what The director also didn't want to use any pictures of Nicolas Cage on the posters or in the trailer. Even though he's this big character in the movie and a big part of it, they wanted to promote it and sell the movie without focusing on him as Longlegs or what that was going to be. Which is kind of a risk because you're looking at a horror movie and you're not billing one of the top stars in it.
Yeah.
That can backfire. But I don't think that it did.
Yeah. No, there was still so much buzz when that movie first came out. When it came out, like, so much buzz.
Yeah. I mean, people thought he did a great job in it, but he said he's not ever going to play a serial killer again. He's done that. It's like he did Dracula in Renfield, and now he's done this. And I feel like at this point in his career, he's just going through and checking boxes for his wish list of roles.
He's like, have I played this role before yet? No, then let's do it. Sign me up. I mean, got to mark them off.
Yep. The reason behind that is he really doesn't like to hurt people. Like, he doesn't like the violence part of it. So, it's like, okay.
Yeah, wasn't that like a whole thing with Kick-Ass?
Yes. I think
when he
so.
was in that, it was kind of this whole not being the biggest fan of his role and stuff in that for himself because of just a very violent movie as well.
I think he would rather stay away from it, but he does such a good job, so I hope that he doesn't stay completely away from horror. There are other movies he can do.
He's done some weird horror movies,
definitely has.
For sure. One that comes to mind, and I watched it because of Julian Hilliard is also in it, from Haunting of Hill House and WandaVision and stuff, who my little buddy that I did his first ever panel with when he was 6 years old. It's crazy because he's like 14 or something now, and I'm an old person. But yeah, because I remember just like seeing that because it's like it's weird because it's like based off of like a Lovecraft thing or something, but color out of space.
Oh, okay.
And I think we could cover it, but I don't know if I ever want to because once was enough for me on that movie because it's weird, but also was kind of a hard watch. There's some really fucked up stuff in that movie that I'm like, oh.
He was in an apocalyptic movie called Knowing that had to do with numbers, and it had to do with a time capsule and kids, and so he's in that. There are some movies we can cover. He was
and what was the other one? Like Mom and Dad?
Oh, yes.
That one, that was something.
That was something. You know what?
Man.
When we need a movie that's one of those comedy movie, like funny, creepy movies, like Cooties, we'll cover that. When we're having, you know what? When we're having a week where we need to cover something silly, we'll cover that. I mean, it had silly elements to it, so I feel like it would probably fit. I know what else we're covering, too. Sometime.
I think, random thing, but I think, from what I understand, is they've been filming. He's supposed to be reprising, in a way, even though it was only voice acting before. But I think he's going to be, like, reprising the character, but also making live-action debut of the character of Spider-Man Noir. I think they've been filming that. Yeah, which, okay, I'm in, let's do it. Because he did the voice of Noir in the Spider-Verse movies, but from what I understand, I think he's been filming a live-action adaptation of it as Spider-Noir. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah. I think there are definitely some movies that he's done that we can cover.
Yeah.
And another one we're going to cover at the end of the month that doesn't have him in it, but we should be covering soon, is Dark Match, because it's coming.
Yes, should do that, for sure.
Because we're going off on tangents about movies that have nothing to do with anything. We're just going on a random ride. Oh, man. I don't have any more notes, do you?
I do not.
I think then that we've done it.
Yeah, that wraps it up. I hit play, but my volume was all the way down.
Is it broken? Are people going to be able... Oh, okay. I wondered if people were going to be able to send us messages for this.
Yeah, no, I got it hooked back up. We're good.
Okay.
All right, and we're back with feedback. First feedback of a new season. It's always fun. Excited to get into that a little bit. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this first episode back this season. Kicked it off fun, interesting, creepy, unique.
Yes, definitely. All of those things.
Always interesting to see kind of where we start seasons. You never know. But it was fun for us.
I know. I'm always thinking when we end the season before, what should we start the next one with? And for some reason, Longlegs jumped out at me, and I decided that we better do it.
Yep.
So we did.
So I think I made in the Facebook post, we were coming out with some Cage. We've been doing just fine.
Oh, man, the killers.
But yeah, so we do have a couple of little pieces of feedback for Longlegs here. The first one, Daphne reads, and it comes from Catherine.
Yes. Catherine says, this one is so good. Cage's performance is uncomfortable and terrifying. This is the third time I've seen it, and the ending gets better every time.
Nice. Good to hear from you again, Catherine. Been a while, so
yes,
enjoy it. And then somebody else who always comes through for us very, very often, and I always love to hear from, Alma, also writing in on this one. Say, this movie reminded me a bit of Silence of the Lambs. I really liked how it was intense as well as bizarre. I do wish there had been a bit more of that crazy Longlegs dude, but woo, what a twist to the story, right? I look forward to hearing what y'all's thoughts are. Unless Pake rips it to shreds. LOL, JK, Pake, do ya thing. No, Alma starts getting worried now when she really loves movies, and then I'm like, oh, what a heap of garbage, am I right? No, but no fear, Alma, if you've listened to this already, you know we had a lot of great stuff to say about this one. So
yeah,
you're safe this week. You don't have to worry about me tearing into something you enjoyed, at least for this week. I can't make promises for the future of this season and the show as we continue, but at least this week you're okay.
Yes. Well, if you'd like to submit feedback like Catherine and Alma, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast, or you could email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. As always, you can go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
We do indeed. Let's see if I can still do this. It's been a couple of months, it feels like. So we'll see. Speaking of sharing the love, of course, got to give those shout outs to things going on in the podcast universe around us, Podcastica universe around us even. Let's see. First over on the cast of us, Amelie, Jason, and Veronica covered episodes 7 through 10, the back half of the Apple TV series Silo, as they're, still gearing up for The Last of Us coming back soon in April. So definitely stick around for coverage over there. But in Silo, great show. They covered the first season when it came out, and then they did this second season in 2 parts. So the second part is out now for you to check out. So definitely check that out. Yellow Jackets, WTF, is coming back very soon. As you're hearing this, the first 2 episodes of season 3 are released today or releasing today. I'm not sure exactly what their release schedule is, if it's like a midnight thing or if it's a certain point at the evening. I don't know. But either way, today is the premiere of Yellow Jackets season 3. So you can definitely be staying tuned to Yellow Jackets WTF. They'll be releasing those the coverage of those episodes very soon. But before that, if you want like a little review and recap of what's going on of season 2, you can check that out right now for sure. Penny, Jason, and Wendy were on that to kind of go back over that. And then, yeah, as I said, you can check out the coverage of episodes 1 and 2 of season 3 over on Still Slaying, the Buffy podcast. Penny and Kara are discussing season 4, episode 4, Fear Itself, continuing their Buffy watch and coverage over there. So definitely check that out. They do an incredible job over there. If you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, check it out. Give it a listen. Other stuff outside of Podcastica as well. Of course, our good friend Mark is launching a new podcast over on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network with that podcast called What's On Tonight. Be covering the HBO Max series The Pit first. Kind of be going through different shows and stuff. That's the first foray there. Hosted by Becky and Mandy, actually. I don't think Mark's even involved in that, but he's got that network kind of kicking up some cool stuff. And you will know Becky from some other episodes and shows and stuff that she has covered and done with Mark over on that network.
Yeah.
So, yeah, doing a lot of great stuff. So her and her friend Mandy are covering The Pit. So if you're a fan of that one over on Max, you can give that a listen over on Pirate Core. And our good friends at TV Podcast Industries stay busy, stay doing work. And right now they are covering the Amazon Prime show Invincible, which I love so much. And I'm so glad it's back. And they also, there's a lot of these like dropping multiple episodes. Like I said, I was getting like tangled up on the like first 2 episodes of Yellow Jackets earlier because Spider-Man's dropping 3 episodes at a time. And then also Invincible dropped their first 3 episodes at once. And now they're going week to week, 1 at a time. It's also confusing, but I can get it all together. But yeah, so you can check out their coverage of the first 3 episodes for sure. And probably episode 4 by the time you're hearing this, because they work so fast. So I bet that's already out for you to go check out as well over on TV Podcast Industries for Invincible. Yeah, got through it. We did it. All the plugs. And I only messed up 17,000 times. So you know what? Pretty good. I'll get back into the hang of it. Don't worry. And if you want to hear more of me and Daphne being absolutely ridiculous, you can join us with our friends Jeff and Jerry over on the Buffalo podcast, where we're continuing to have a lot of fun, trying to make each other laugh, playing stupid games. And each episode, we just get longer and longer and longer until eventually we're going to be putting out 5-hour episodes. Now, we just have too much fun over there. No, we're sticking to about an hour. it started as like 30 minutes, and we were like, that's just not enough time for fun. So, we do what we can.
It's funny because we started the podcast because we were gaming on Tuesday nights and we were having so much fun that we thought, oh, let's do a podcast. And now we don't game hardly like we used to at all.
Just all of our time goes to the podcast now.
And then we talk after and laugh. And so, yeah.
We're having fun.
We are.
For sure. It's great.
It is.
But, other than that, that's it for plugs, things you can go check out. But we definitely want you to come back right here next week. New season. We're kicking it off. We're going to keep on rolling for a while up until, the next look back and season end. We should just keep rolling through. I say that. Who knows? Sometimes we take things off when we get super busy, but I think we'll be doing good.
Yeah.
But check it back out because we're going to keep on running next week with something. And it is Oscar season right now. So we got Oscar movies to talk about. Oscar nominated Run for Your Lives movies. So next week, what are we starting with, Daphne?
Well, Robert Eggers reimagines a classic tale with a hauntingly gothic aesthetic. Following a young woman's deadly entanglement with an ancient vampire in a cursed town, her reality blurs and she must confront the sinister force that feeds on fear and obsession. We are covering the 2024 film Nosferatu.
Yes. I'm excited for that one to come out and you guys to hear that next week. It was an interesting one for sure. Robert Eggers. I think it's first time with us talking about his stuff on this podcast. And if you want to know how we felt about it, tune in next week.
Yes. Yes, no sneak peeks. We're just going to tell you that you'll have to check us out next week.
Yes.
And with that, we've reached the end of another fun, terrifying, creepy episode of Run for Your Lives. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.